Good evening and welcome once more to MTV Community Forum. I'm your host Byron Campbell, my co-host Chris Diali. Chris.
Thank you, Byron. Welcome viewers, welcome to another program of Community Forum. We're happy that you're with us and we believe we have a very interesting program for you this evening.
Chris, tell the viewers, go ahead.
Yes, well, we have this issue that have came up recently under the Catholic system with Father Gerard Paul making certain pronouncements in a particular Eucharistic Mass. The bishop have already said his view, so we're giving Father Paul this evening a chance to say his side.
Yeah, thank you. Right, Chris, well, big thing. Easter just completed, but of course, Character Games, Grenada. Of course, Jamaica dominated as usual. You were at the games, I was at the games, we know what happened. Congratulations to Team Grenada. What's your take on the games?
Well, I think it was well executed. I mean, all kudos to them. Everything seems to have run off well. The preparation for the athletes, you heard no complaints. Well, we haven't heard any complaints since. And everything went off well, except, of course, to the end. But I want to give compliments to the organizers as well and what they did. The track was in superb condition. They had no complaints from the athletes and everything looks as though they functioned well. Of course, in the last race, the 4x4, the officials seem to have dropped the baton. And, Grenada could have medaled and we didn't. So, is upsetting to the athletes from that point of view. And based on what I've been told, our medal count was about 14 in total. One gold with silvers and bronze, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But Byron, from my perspective, I think it gives the Grenadian athletes an understanding of the gap to get to Jamaica and the Bahamas level and the Trinidad level and the amount of work that needs to be done. The coaching, the financing, all of that we need to pump into our athletes to get them to perform at that level at Carifta and beyond. And the other thing that I noticed, I didn't see any exceptional talent. They had a couple of records that were broken, a few records that were broken, but I can't say even from the Grenada team, I saw exceptional talent like a Kerani James when he partook in Carifta.
Maybe your expectation is too high, Chris. Let me tell you, we came second out of 20. I ain't thinking beyond that. We did very
second
well.
In what?
Well, we came 7th
out
of 20. We beat countries like Barbados and others, No,
I'm commending that, and I think that is excellent.
Okay. The other thing, Chris, I want to mention is that because Grenada doesn't have an Olympic-sized swimming pool, that aspect of the games were held in the Bahamas. I think it's in one of the islands there. But an unfortunate incident happened. We have an athlete, Sarah Dowden, that she competed for the Grenada team, and she was accompanied there by her family, by her father and mother, actually. And very unfortunate, the father passed away. In fact, my information is at the games, actually, where he collapsed and died subsequently. But what was interesting, this amazing young woman, is that even with this shock, she decided, because she won her heat.
Going into the finals.
And she decided, with this shock and with this tragedy, she came out and performed. And as she said, she did it for her father. She's so proud of him. And she medaled. She came third. So kudos to Sarah. I want to congratulate her. I want to congratulate you, but it's also to express condolences. This is among Morris family, of course, close to me, Chris. Chris, close to home. But for me, Chris, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. It is to deal with such sad news and the shock and the suddenness and so on, and to still go into the pool, into the event and medal and perform well is kudos to her and her strength. So
Chris,
congratulations to her as well.
We had a biker's tragedy this weekend. Very unfortunate, but I don't want to stay much on this. Very unfortunate, Chris. I thought that from what I saw in terms of the videos on the public road, bikers, I thought it was recklessness to some extent that we could avoid that. We should avoid this, and it did not have to happen. But again, condolences to the families, very unfortunate, Chris.
Yeah, you must express condolences to the family, but as you say, I don't think there's any other way to describe it as being reckless.
Yeah.
Yes, you're young, and you figure when you're young, you're Superman and nothing could touch you. But here we have two young men having this accident and dying at tender age. I think one was 18 and one was older. But I mean, you could imagine the parents and this situation, and you would expect that, I think going forward, you need to understand what these guys does on the public road.
Public road.
And wherever they go,
And we can talk about it some more, Chris, but I just want to say that, Chris, you have point something out to me, the question of heavy-duty vehicles, particularly trucks on our roads. What is your observation?
Yeah, my thing is, Byron, we have these huge SL trucks that we didn't have in the past. We had big trucks before, but the ones that we have now are rather huge, and the tonnage that they carry. But my real beef for this situation is the speed at which these guys drive. And our roads are narrow. When one of these trucks come in, they take up probably 3/4 of the road, and you have to head for the side. And I think the police need to look at some sort of rule when the guys could travel, and whether it's late in the evening or early in the morning when there is not peak traffic. And if there is something in traffic and an obstacle on the road, the traffic backs up for hundreds of meters because these trucks, their size. And I think it's something we need to look at. I don't think we need to wait for something terrible to happen with an accident, because they're so huge.
Maybe something that could be the Transport Commission can consider and regulate this question.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not only that. I mean, the roads were not designed for that amount of weight or what we call the number of axles on these trucks. So when we're doing roads now, obviously we had to increase, the quality to take these large trucks. Yeah, the load capacity for these trucks.
Chris, I've been following this cocoa. The price of cocoa has been increasing significantly in the international market. In fact, it's been going like this. It's moved from $3,500 a metric ton to over $10,000 a metric ton. But farmers are not, certainly our farmers are not benefiting from this. Why? Because we sell our cocoa in advance. So the cocoa we're selling now was negotiated last year, so you're getting an old price. But not only that, there's a lot of, and West Africa, is Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, big producers, they have issues of disease and reduced production as much as 25%. The same thing is happening here.
So there's a scarcity.
There's a scarcity. So you're going to see the price of chocolate, particular, taking off. There is limited supply and demand is high. But I just want to make the point, how does that affect our local cocoa producers and farmers in particular? Price have been there at $170 a pound, hasn't gone anywhere. So we are definitely not benefiting from this new price increases that we're seeing. What we've experienced, the trend we're seeing is a drop in local production, and that last year it went down by almost a quarter. And you had as much as 250, 260 less farmers supplying. You have a lot of abandoned fields, you have a lot. So it's an issue that great market, possibly potential, but we do have this problem in the sector.
What is GCA doing about it?
Well, yeah.
Is the marketing strategy have to change? Obviously they're forward selling, as you said.
Forward selling.
And they're looking at pricing.
They have a number of initiatives, as you know. They do have a chocolate plant, Grenada.
That's value add.
Value add, that is Juve. And they're setting up another plant to do the white chocolate in St. Andrews, So this will take some of the products, of course, but these businesses have not been extremely profitable. I mean, they're operational, but it's not generating the kind of revenue that you'd expect to turn around the sector. But so key is...
Are you suggesting that we need to have the conversation of GCNA and GCA come back up on the table?
Absolutely, yeah.
To discuss what is happening with our farmers? We can't be selling cocoa at $10,000 and a ton, and we're struggling at whatever.
Exactly, but we're not getting that price now because we sell in advance, But Chris, the Gaza situation continues. Food and starvation as a weapon, certainly. We've had the World Central Kitchen. They were targeted, apparently, premeditated assassination Israel says it will investigate, and the Prime Minister says he expressed sorrow. Really? I mean, that was...
I thought we were supposed to have a march to Camahan Park in support of, or to get the government to make some statement on the Palestinian
Well, yes,
issue.
this march is, in fact, my information is that this march is scheduled for Friday at starting, no, not a march, starting, it's a motorcade starting at the Queen's Park at 2 o'clock and going to Camahan Park, where there will be a rally there will be speakers, and yes, and I think Grenada need to show solidarity, to demonstrate solidarity, because the Palestinians are looking for this. They want, but Chris, what's more important, and this is a conversation we probably even raised with Father Paul, is that what is our own government saying? You know, I'm not hearing a statement from the Foreign Affairs or
You've
the
been
government.
saying that for weeks now,
Yeah,
and
there's
nothing comes out
nothing. It's
because I
like-
don't think the government wants to make a statement.
But this is an international issue.
This is
The
foreign
fact is that
affairs, so they
it's-
probably don't want to make a
It has to
statement.
do with humanity.
If nothing
You
has
can't-
come out
you
yet from
can't-
the Foreign Ministry or the Minister for Foreign Affairs, after 6 months of this war being staged, I don't think the government wants to make a
Because see,
statement.
this is where small countries like us can have a statement and have a voice, because we have an equal voice at the United Nations.
Yeah,
So we
but-
can support South Africa when they're going to the ICJ. We can add our. Belize has done this. They have withdrawn their ambassador. They've gone. But not only that, I think CARICOM, not all CARICOM countries recognize the Palestinian authority.
That's right.
And this is, you know, it's like, I'm disappointed in terms of the support we get. This is a humanitarian crisis, the emergency. And clearly, it is unacceptable to me that we've not been heard. Our population don't know. I don't know what our country, what our government position, what is Grenada's position is.
The position is no position, Byron.
This
You
is-
might be
this is-
upset about that, but
Yeah,
the position is
yeah,
no
this
position.
this is
So
unacceptable.
far, they
man.
have
But
said
Chris-
nothing, so there's
but
no
Chris-
position.
Chris, the final thing before we go on to our special guest is this question of health insurance for seniors. It don't exist for most of us, you know. And let me give you my example. I would have been a policy holder for surgical, yes, for most of my years, covered. Very little claims, dental, little stuff. So they've made money from me. But you know what? I turned 70 and they said, we no longer can cover you. Your risk is too high. They didn't say to me, we are going to raise the premium. They didn't say it to me. That's it. Chris, what's your view on this?
I think it's a conversation we need to have about insurance, particularly some of the things we see happening under the surgical umbrella.
Yeah.
And health is one. There's another issue that I will raise too as well concerning, you know, insuring of death under the health
Yeah.
insurance and so on. There are things that's happening in the insurance industry that it doesn't seem and smell well,
Yeah.
because, you know, it's about trust and about
Yeah.
you. And when you get into a contract with insurance, the insurance companies, my understanding is that they cannot just change it willy-nilly, because you would have had a contract.
Chris,
with
where
certain
is
conditions and-
humanity here? That's what I'm talking about. They
Yeah,
have,
but where is
you
the
can't do
where is
that in the US.
Where is
huh?
consumer affairs as well?
Yeah, okay. But we have to continue this conversation.
We have to.
But I want to compliment Communal just the same, because they have opened to all their members, initially, of course, regardless of age, to come into their health insurance. So kudos to Communal.
Well, you see, when you one door is shut, another gets
Another
open.
door is open.
So here it is, Communal is taking advantage. Kudos
Viewers,
to them.
we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to have Father Gerard Paul with us. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you.
And wellness.
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488 You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488, or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488, or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
At Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, we sell engines for all makes of vehicles: Toyota GT Corolla 6-speed, Toyota MR2, and Evolution 3. We've got transmissions for Toyota Noah, 2.0 Suzuki Escudo, Toyota Corolla. Windscreens for Grand Vitara, 2 and 4-door Escudo, Toyota Corolla front and back, and Suzuki Escudo wheel covers. Also available are motor oil, oil filters, crystal headlights for Toyota Corolla, brakes for all makes of vehicles. We sell C16 and Q16 racing fuel. Special prices on oils and accessories for customers who purchase vehicles from us. You're never left undone because we source the part if we don't have it. Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, empowering people through mobility.
Welcome back, viewers, Community Forum. This evening, as we announced earlier, we have Father Gerard Paul to chat with us and have a discussion on the issues that have come up with him and the bishop in recent times and comments made at a particular Eucharistic Mass that they had recently over the Easter weekend. Father Paul has been a priest for the last 30 years, and some people may say he's controversial in his comments. And of course, we're here this evening to get his side of the story as to what has transpired and of course, where this may end. So, Father Paul, welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you very much.
Good to have you here.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Good, good, good. So, Father Paul, if I could start off, I listened to the bishop's pronouncement on the comments that was made in the Mass when you was... First thing that struck me was that he said you had no permission to say the things that you said, and he agreed on certain of your views on the Palestinian and other issue that is happening, but he was very concerned about the accusations, which he termed false, that you made in your presentation at that particular Mass, and of course indicated that that wasn't the right forum. What is your thoughts on it and the fact that you did it in that particular forum?
Yeah, so good night, listeners. Good night, brothers. Okay, so you've said a number of things there. I'm an old man now, and my memory is not very good. But
that's fine, man.
You give me the little details. So first of all, you said issues between the bishop and myself, and that may be so, but the real issue is the cause of the Palestinians, and I think we must never lose focus of that. We have had now, as you said, before the towards the end of the last segment, you've had 6 months of murdering people in Gaza, and it just continued to go on and on and on, and the European Union has supported Britain, France. They keep at the United Nations vetoing the Security Council, in the Security Council vetoing resolutions for a ceasefire. Israel goes on with impunity, killing people. As a matter of fact, they stated it right at the beginning since October 7th, the beginning of the crisis there, that there's not going to be any food for the people, any water for the people. There's not going to be any fuel for the people. I mean, basic human needs they're going to deprive them, and that's exactly what they've done. They have chased people from one part of the Gaza Strip to the next. By the way, the Gaza Strip is probably just a little bigger than Grenada. Very small place with over 2 million people. It's referred to as a concentration camp, and in fact, it is a concentration camp in my view, because exactly what Israel is doing to the Palestinians is what was done to Israel in the concentration camps.
By the Germans.
Yes, so let me clarify. Not in the concentration camps, but prior to the concentration camps. You gathered people in ghettos. You push people. You just push the Jews in ghettos. You kept them there. You half-starved them. They barely survived, and so on and so forth, until you moved them into the concentration camp.
So when you say the Israelis and the Jews learned a lot from the Germans based on what they experienced in that time, because they seem to be applying it now with impunity.
Yes. I think you're right on that. And it's amazing that the Germans, who for many years pretended to be so humanitarian and trying to make up for the Holocaust, even where church is concerned, I can just divulge a little bit, or just the German bishops have made a lot of contributions, big contributions to the Third World Church, and the idea was that the rich church must support the poor church. So in Germany, you pay a religious tax. Everybody, whether you're religious or not, whether you believe in God or not, everybody pays a religious tax to the government, and based on the proportion of your denomination, you get that equal proportion in terms of the tax. So the German bishops have accumulated and continue to accumulate a lot of money. They have helped Latin America a lot. They have helped the Caribbean, my church in St. David's.
Let me just interject a minute. I mean, I know the Pope only recently in his Sunday Easter Mass, if you want to call it that, for the first time pronounced on the Palestinian issue and Israel and Palestine and what is happening there. The church have been silent for 6 months, quite frankly, and this is the first time the Pope has come out openly and said that it is not something that the world should accept and so forth.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, your pronouncements in recent times on the pulpit, do you think that you have the justification to pronounce on the Palestinian issue? Because we're going to get to the other issues that was raised, but particularly on the Palestinian, now that the Pope has come out.
Well, I don't have to take any cue from the Pope. The Pope is a man. I'm a man. He's a human being. I'm a human being. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about a humanitarian situation. So I don't take my cue from the Pope on that matter and upon many other matters as well. By the way, it's not the first time he has spoken. I think I know at least 2 times before, but what I'm saying, I like to think of how the Greeks describe it. The Greeks talk, and we have the same concept here, but it's just that the way they express it, they talk about the logos and I forget now, but referring to the emotional side of humanity or human beings, and the rational side of human beings. So I mean, if I touch you like that and I squeeze you, you might just, But if I cuff you in your face, you're going to react much stronger. And that's that's my problem with the church. The Pope has spoken so gently about the matter. And I mean, when we say the church, I mean, I would say the church has been silent. I mean, the church is not a homogeneous organization. I'm talking primarily about the institutional church. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about the powers, the establishment. Yeah. They've been very, very silent. I made a reference in the Mass, and I'm going to say it again, that in recent months, during the last year, the Pope wrote a document in reference to same-sex unions, same-sex couples, and he's really pushing in that document that priests and pastors should bless same-sex couples. Yeah. Now, this is an extremely controversial issue that has some people would say divided the church. I'm not sure it's divided. People have different views and everything, and life goes on at the end of the day. Just as how some people will say, well, I am talking about the church's poor response to the Gaza situation, and I'm dividing the church. Well, that's just their opinion. Yeah, but the point I'm making is that the Pope has been very strong in that document, the document itself, and his defense of the document in the face of a lot of controversy. I mean, he has put his neck out there to do that. I mean, he has not raised anything about the married priesthood, which has been an issue on the table for very, very, very long. But he's put his neck out there, and you're seeing people just being killed like that, and then you're going to come up and mumble some kind of little thing during the Christmas time or something like that. To me, it's I don't know, it's really bad.
But do you think that the forum you use to express yourself on the Palestinian issues and the other issues, because the bishop is saying that you made accusations against the clergy and other things that in his view was false, and this is where he took deference to what you were doing. He didn't have an issue with the Palestinian thing because he said he supports and he understands that issue, and he probably has similar views. But is it the forum that you did it in your view, was the right forum to do it?
Okay, so I'll take the first one first, that I made false accusations. I don't know what the false accusations are. Mm-hmm. Because I have never heard the bishop say anything about that matter. I've never heard him.
About the Palestinian issue?
No, yes,
okay.
Never heard him. And I made reference as well in a clergy retreat we have. It's a 1-week retreat we have during I think October or November every year. But it would have been some weeks into the crisis, and we went to that retreat at Mount St. Albans. And, it was very chilling because, as I said, in those days I found it very difficult even to eat, because when you think that children are starving in Palestine, and they are being bombed, their homes, their schools, their nurseries, their hospitals, their universities. I mean, everything. They've been bombed flat out, But I had no conversation during that week. I was not there for the entire week. He criticized me, but I was there and this, that, and the other for some time. But during that entire week, I had no conversation, not even a little one-on-one conversation. Nobody had a conversation with me. As one person said in Grenville, I think it was sometime last week in a public setting, that the church has not, nobody has offered a mass for the Palestinians. Now, I can't say that is so, that is not so, but the fact that somebody, a Catholic, can witness to that. So I don't know what is false about my statement. I have said that the church, and I remember raising it at clergy meeting a couple of months ago, and he came out and said, oh, the Pope speak, and that one speak, and that one speak. I mean, I have said it, for example, that, I travel a bit, and I mean, I was in Dubai, I was in London, I was in Antigua, I was, in the earlier part of this year. And I've never heard anybody speaking about what the Pope said about Gaza. But I hear everybody speaking about what the Pope says about same-sex couples, blessing same-sex couples, and people are protesting very strongly against that. Yeah. Okay, what's the second part of your question?
Was the forum that you
chose.
Oh,
the forum, okay, yeah.
Do you think it was the appropriate forum, understanding that it's a particular Chrism Mass it is, held on the time that it is held?
Okay, so Chrism Mass is a big deal. It's a celebration. It's, I think you can say, the number one celebration that we have, where we bless oils, holy oils, the oil for the sick and so on and so forth, oil of baptism and so on. It's a very solemn Mass. It's a time when priests renew their vows. I don't. Your vow? Yeah, I did.
Okay, he said you didn't in his speech.
He said that?
Yes, he said that you didn't renew your vow.
Yeah, I I came in late, and he doesn't know why he hasn't asked me a question about that. Why
He
to
said you
part in
didn't
the mass.
renew your priestly vow. I quoted him here.
Yeah, well, he can say what he wants. That's his view. I was late, so I wasn't for that particular part. Yeah.
Let me-
The forum.
The forum, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's always a good time to do what is right. First of all, I spoke at Chrism Mass, but it was at the end of the Mass. All that was left to be done, the distribution of the oils had taken place, and all was left to be done was the final blessing, which is 1 minute, and he had to thank people and so on and so forth. No, I have no regrets, and I will do it again, you know, yeah. There's a captive audience, and I'm speaking to the Catholic community, and this is a Catholic community gathered. You know, you see, people try to find all sorts of excuses. They talk about my hair, they talk about I'm wearing an earring, and so on. The real issue is Gaza.
Yeah.
So if it is wrong to talk about human rights, where human beings have gathered, where the church itself, in 1971, the Synod of Bishops at Rome, all bishops gathering at Rome in 1971, said that the preaching of the gospel, the fight for justice, the work for justice is constitutive, a big word, but it simply means part and parcel of the preaching of the gospel. So I don't know what could be wrong there.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, the Pope uses Christmas time to make his pronouncement, all his big occasions when they talk about different issues. I mean, people are dying. The church makes a lot of noise about abortions and, you know, all sorts of demonstrations to save life. I'm talking about saving life. I am wrong to talk about it there. Well, I wouldn't talk about it anywhere else.
Father, I heard you, and I was moved by what you said. The congregation, they applauded you. You know, that was very clear. I was moved too because for a long time there was nobody in Grenada, no one coming out and talk about the injustices, the crimes against humanity that is taking place in Gaza, and the whole treatment of the Palestinian people as a whole. The genocide that's taking place, and you articulated this well, and I want to compliment you for those words. The other issues is, of course, as Chris was pointing out, where you said it, and these are implications because you're part of an order, you're part of a body, you're part of an institution that has rules that you're aware of, and your boss, the person you reported to, you report to. This is what he said, in addition to what Chris said. He says, you are unworthy of a priest of Jesus Christ. He didn't stop there. He went on to say that what you did was an act of self-promotion rather than a call for justice. Clearly, anyone interpreting this would see that there are consequences, that he's leading to telling you or telling the public, the Catholic Church, that there will be consequences for your action.
Yeah, well, that's all right. There are always consequences for actions. There are many things you will say
no,
here.
but significant consequences, like, what was the word, defrocking? Defrocking. Removing you, essentially. Because he says, you're unworthy of a priest of Jesus Christ. He says you've been disrespectful and disobedient.
Well, he likes to talk about obedience. I don't know why he likes to talk about obedience. I'm not nobody's little child. I'm not anybody's little child. Okay, so if he wants to be father of some people and so on, that's fine. He's not my father. He's yes, you can speak of him. He's the boss of the Catholic Church in Grenada. And, you know, I have no problems with that. Let me tell you something. I should say that. I have now taken notes, so I wouldn't be coming back to ask you the questions over.
Okay.
Some years ago, I can't remember, it could be more than 20 years ago, a bishop was appointed for Trinidad, a white man from the United States. Clyde Harvey took great deference to that, protested, was up and down in the newspapers. The day of the ordination, that's when the bishop is being ordained, consecrated, I think is the right term. Clyde Harvey did not join the procession with all the priests and bishops and archbishops around the Caribbean and around the world. He entered the church in a back door in protest. Clyde himself thought he was a radical in the 70s. I don't know if he's been a radical. As I said, I've been inspired by him at 12 years old. I went to a youth rally in Sutter's and he spoke there and I was quite impressed and I followed him through the Catholic news for many, many years. But you know, as I also say, I said it on the narrative earlier this week, people are usually called radical in the early years, and as they get older, we become more conservative. When we're young, we think we can change the world, we can move everything, and when we get older. So Clyde Harvey, in rejecting the appointment of that bishop, he rejected the decision of the Pope, and he was a priest like myself, okay? So there's much that could be said about that. So the idea that he's talking about, he likes to talk about disobedience. What have I disobeyed? What have I disobeyed? And the church is so foolish with this talk about disobedience and obedience. Now, I say, for example, we do vows. We do church at your ordination, you do a vow of poverty, a vow of obedience, and I think a third one, I don't remember. There is a third one, which I can't recall now. You know, we never take a vow to love our brothers and sisters. We take a vow to obey the bishop. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, that's the point. You took a vow. But Father, look, you have spoken, and I've heard comments about this. You have spoken about the Catholic Church, the historical hypocrisy.
Yeah.
But that's also facts, and crimes.
Yeah.
Many of them are against humanity. And even today, this continues. But knowing this, why do brave men and women like yourself continue to join and work with the institution, the Church, the Catholic Church, knowing its historical crimes against humanity?
Probably if I know the crime, I would not be appreciated.
Clearly. And you believe that you can really change it? You think you can do something? I mean, do you believe that?
Well,
It's bigger. It's significantly bigger than you.
Yeah.
So what is your goal? What are you trying to achieve here? Where do you see this leading?
Okay, so you're somehow involved in the media world by being here today and having
That's
your programs,
correct, yeah.
and you're projecting a certain point of view,
Yes.
and so on, which you hold very dear to you. Maybe many people don't share what you have.
That's correct, yeah.
There's a lot about fake news these days. Now, do you opt out of the news because you're a media house and because you're not being paid by big pharma or this, that, and the other, and you're getting your funds in some small way, some little newspaper and so on? You continue to survive. You continue to do what you have to do. Quite frankly, I mean, I responded in a joke saying, probably had I known, I would not be there. And that's a joke, but there is a certain amount of truth to that as well, you know. A lot of you, I don't know, I guess you're a married man.
Yes.
Some people, after being married for 35 years, they say they knew what that was, you never enter it. You know, it was a honeymoon sweet thing when you enter it. But having said that, I have no regrets of having being a priest, and I would probably be a priest again if I come back on the face of the earth. And I do not think I could change the world. I do not aspire to change the world. I have sometimes felt disappointed with myself that I have not done enough in the institution. but you know, I just try to do my best, and I do not expect to change the world, you know. And you talk about the injustices in the church, and there's a lot of injustice in Grenada. I mean, we in the Catholic Church supposed to have something I call a Justice and Peace Commission and so on. Do you hear anything about that? When the budget comes out, do you hear they say anything about how the national cake is being shared, and whether it's being shared justly, and whether the poor is getting a fair share, or whether the business community, the foreign business people can come and own all the great beaches, and you just given to them. Camahan Park has been up and down to be given up for some time now, and so on and so forth. Do you hear the church's voice?
Well,
the church
they
is
have the
just
conference
literally
of churches.
right.
The
The church
conference
is
of churches
literally
will-
dumb.
will
Did you hear the
talk on
church's
certain
voice in
things.
slavery? During slavery, where was the church's voice in slavery?
But I want to go even more updated, because the Catholic Church has, and this is on record, systematically covered up tens of thousands of cases involving sexual misconduct, abuse, molestation, and rape at the hands of priests.
Yeah.
Conservative estimates say 17,000 plus in the United States alone. The church acknowledges that the problem continues, and they are working on it. That it is they want to overcome this sexual mistreatment of persons in power. But what can you tell us about, you're part of the church, you're part of it. What is this action? What action is the church actually taking to deal with this issue that continues? Because how the church dealt with it before is you simply were sent to another, you were transferred, you were relocated. Are you satisfied that the church is addressing this fundamental issue in the right way to get results?
So yes and no. So these days, people are not being transferred. In 2014, I was going to England to study, and I was going to a church community. Now, prior to then, I could just have Byron as a friend, a priest friend, and go to his church community and live there, probably get my green card, get my stay, and so on. But now you have to go through the official channels. So they have done that kind of thing to ensure, to sort of mitigate the situation. So I would say a good bit has been done. But the Pope's representative was in Grenada, a Nigerian gentleman, I don't remember his name, not the current one, some years ago, and I challenged him on the sexual crisis. I've been talking about the sexual crisis for many years. I've been in St. David's, I was in St. David's for 18 and a half years. And when I speak about it, I spoke about it, I guess, with so much passion over a period that some people thought I wanted to leave the priesthood, and I'm trying to find a way out. So I'm not satisfied, and I think there's a lot of cover-up that has gone on, and a lot of things remain very secretive, you know. A lot of things remain. But what I would say, the transparency that exists now is far beyond what it ever was. But not only that, it's been a forced situation. You know, I remember many years ago on the BBC, African Archbishop was defending the church because the question was, is the church a force for good or a force for evil? And you know, they always get a black man to do this kind of a thing, this kind of dirty work to defend. The church's misdeeds in the area of sexuality and so on has been covered up over hundreds of years.
I mean, you spoke about it on a program sometime ago where you talk about the genocide in the Americas, you know, against the natives, you know.
Take a break, just don't, please. I just want to pee. Go ahead.
Yes.
After the question.
But I wanna go into your community a bit, because a lot of the church is very concerned about poverty, reduction, whatever. Are you dealing? And let's look at the area in which you operate. Is the church dealing with the symptoms, or is it dealing with the cause? What is the approach of the church, and is it working?
It's dealing with some issues causal issues, but mainly it's dealing with the symptoms, you know. So we have a program in the Catholic Church to distribute food and stuff like that, which is a good program, but I think it's doing a lot of destruction.
What would you
because
think
it's
different?
not- Well, I would like something like NULO. NULO, as you know, is an institution that has, I think, contributed to the Grenadian social life and economic life a lot. Young people who didn't make it in school or made it in school and, you know, whatever. But, you know, they learn a trade and so on and so forth. I mean, you see everybody from every island, from every country coming and occupy these areas in Grenada.
So I want you to hold it. We're going to take a short break.
Yes.
Viewers, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Concerned about your general health and wellness?
Do you need to know your complete blood count, lipid profile, or HbA1c?
Maybe you're an athlete or work in an environment that requires regular drug screening.
Interested in STI screening? What about renal, liver, or thyroid tests?
All these tests, plus hundreds more, are available at Allied Laboratories.
At Allied Laboratories, we are committed to providing the best service with accurate results. We now have 3 fully equipped locations to better serve you. You can contact our Grand Anse branch at 403-3488. You can contact our Grenville branch at 410-3488. Or you can contact our newest addition, the Guelph branch, at 404-3488. Or send us an email.
We're taking care of Grenada.
At Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, we sell engines for all makes of vehicles. Toyota GT Corolla 6-speed, Toyota MR2 and Evolution 3. We've got transmissions for Toyota Noah, 2.0 Suzuki Escudo, Toyota Corolla. Windscreens for Grand Vitara, 2 and 4-door Escudo, Toyota Corolla front and back, and Suzuki Escudo wheel covers. Also available are motor oil, oil filters, crystal headlights for Toyota Corolla, brakes for all makes of vehicles. We sell C16 and Q16 racing fuel. Special prices on oils and accessories for customers who purchase vehicles from us. You're never left undone because we source the part if we don't have it. Maitland's Motor Sales and Rentals, empowering people through mobility.
Welcome back. Go
Sorry.
ahead, Byron. Welcome back, viewers. We have Father Gerard Paul talking to us about the issues recently that happened on the pulpit in one of the masses over Easter weekend. Father Paul, part of the discussions around your statements has to do with, the bishop indicated that this is not the first time you have been in controversial positions, saying controversial things. He said that he had discussions with you and he thought that you all had some understanding and reconciliation issues, and then here you come in Easter and you went back to the place he thought that you had left. So what is your take on that?
I don't know what to say. I do not live in Clyde Saville's world. Okay, I'm not his child. I'm not a sheep that follow every other sheep. Okay? So yes, we have had discussions at times on various matters, and he tries to indicate that I am in a bad place. Well, that's entirely up to him. Clyde was in a very bad place with the grassroots church and with the official church, the hierarchy, when he opposed the appointment of a bishop in Trinidad. So today he's a bishop, so he can say what he wants. I'm not worried about that. I'm very concerned about my relationship with God. I'm concerned about my relationship with other human beings. I'm concerned about how I live with people. That's what matters to me.
Yeah, but but you're part of an organization where you took vows to hold certain things. Vows are a sacred thing. If you're part of an organization, you take a vows, you have said implicitly that you will follow the rules of the organization to a certain extent. You could deviate, of course, but if you decide to deviate to the extent where the organization think you're outside of the scope, then the choice is, do you still want to stay there? So my question is, understanding the past history that you have had with the church and in particular the Grenada situation where you have been, it appears that, and based on what you're saying tonight, that you are a man that would not follow the dictates of certain things if you feel passionately about it and you go outside of it. Is that a correct assessment? Because you compare yourself to Clyde, saying that he has been a radical of some sort. And if you are to be termed a radical, you don't see the difference between yourself and him.
Well, I don't even want to compare myself with him. I am saying that I said that what was being called a radical in the 1970s has shown its true colors today. Okay, as I've said in a previous program, when it's popular to be radical, everybody could be radical. In the 1970s, Clyde growing up in Black Power time could be some kind of big-time radical. When it's not popular. And the joke about it, you know, again, as I said, the church is not a homogeneous organization. We can talk about the church in many different levels. We can talk about the church in terms of the bishop, in terms of the hierarchy, in terms of, you know, sometimes people talk about the church in terms of the priest, what the priest thinks and whatever, you understand? So again, you know, you ask about, you're making a very interesting point about I've been a part of an organization and the organization has certain rules. I don't know the church has any rules. As a matter of fact, the church has a huge history and a lot of documents. I'm trying to remember the name of that document put together in one, actually referred to as the Bible in regards to justice. Huge. From since 1897, when Pope Leo, I think it was the 13th, or the 9th, I don't remember, Pope Leo something, in 1897, when he came out against the treatment of workers in the Industrial Revolution in Europe. Now, that would have been something quite unpopular with the authorities. So it just depends on who speaks. You know, so just a word. When Clyde Harvey speaks, he speaks as if I have been in problem with the church. Who is Clyde Harvey to say that?
Well, he's the bishop.
He's your boss.
He's
the
bishop. But
no. I want to get. Let's.
Is there a code of conduct? Is there a code of ethics that priests are expected to follow when you become part of the organization?
Well, yes, there is not anything written as such, but what are we supposed to follow?
You pledged obedience and respect.
What is disrespectful about what I have done? What is disobedient about what I have done?
He didn't give you permission to speak. You had no permission to speak. You were not authorized to speak. He accused you of lying, actually.
He has to substantiate all of those things, and I want to respond to what you're talking about. I mean, what is the code of ethics? You know. Have I sexually abused children? Have I taken women, husbands, wives? Have I done these kinds of things? And that is being done in the church every day, and they're smiling and hugging the people who do it.
See, those are the accusations he said you have made that is troubling. Because the same way you're saying that he has to prove, you have to prove that as well. Yeah. When you make those accusations, don't you?
You mean prove? You don't know that priests have been with people's wives?
No, I don't.
I know that.
Well, okay, so you have. So that's what I'm saying. There's proof.
Well, yeah, but I can't come and talk about that here.
No. You understand? I just saying the proof.
We just talked just now about the injustices in the church and to date with the sexual crisis and so on. That has happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Am I part of that? Am I an immoral person in any form or fashion? I mean, you know, they talk about it.
You broke the rules.
Yeah, I broke the rules. Clyde Harvey's rules. So, you take, for example, he says, I am trying to make a show of myself. I mean, anybody knows me knows that.
Self-promotion. You're
Right.
promoting yourself.
I had a 10-year...
This has nothing to do with Palestine.
I had 10 years
Yeah.
of prison ministry, quite quietly. I was part of the Prison Reform Commission in the with Franco Bonadine. I wrote most of the document. Nobody knows that. I have been to the United Nations. I've presented a paper at a UN conference, UNESCO conference in Guadeloupe at the turn of the century. I did that. There was a guy who opposed me. He was from the University of Lyons. He was the professor of history. I do not have a first degree in history. I beat him left, right, and center. I'm just speaking facts here.
No, it's fine.
Came back to
we'll
Grenada.
that, yeah.
I'm mixing concrete. The next day, nobody even knew that happened. What are you talking about self-promotion? I've had just this morning, and I'm just saying that for now,
Yeah.
but you would know that.
Yeah.
Just this morning, last night, on my way up, I passed on the western side, and I was at the people who were the 5 houses that was burnt. I went back there with my truck this morning and jogging out stuff. I don't tell people that. What are you talking about self-promotion? Clyde Harvey has come to Grenada and has failed to capture the imagination of the people of Grenada.
Let me tell you something.
And grassroots people would not support him.
Let me
not supported him. They have called for you talk to grassroots people, they don't want Clyde Harvey in Grenada.
Let me tell you something. He did tell us he's going on retirement soon. Let me tell you something about the Catholic Church that you know or you probably not focused on. The church, history shows that the church has been pretty brutal is the word, with its critics. History is very clear. Now you're critical.
Institutions are like that.
Exactly. So are you prepared for what's coming your way, what is likely to come your way? What's the word we use, defrock, but it's more than that. If I'm to analyze what the bishop said, he's clearly removing you. It don't appear to me that he wants you because he says you're unworthy. You're unworthy. No, I'm talking about the institution.
Who is into Protestant? Who is Clyde Harvey to Protestant? You think I tried to talk about Clyde Harvey's false here today? We're going to get into
so what's beyond?
I'm not going
what's
in
beyond the priesthood for you? Because clearly that's a clear possibility here, Father. Well, what's ahead?
A question has been asked.
What's
before.
ahead? What's ahead? Where
let
are we
me
going?
tell you something. In 2004 thereabout, there was a men's retreat in Trinidad, and it's a national Catholic movement, and I was called by a gentleman who told me that Clyde Harvey asked him. Clyde Harvey directed him for me to ask me. And he said to me, because he asked me to do it a second year and a third year. As a matter of fact, he shared 2 things with me. He said that they have asked bishops, archbishops, and so on to do that retreat. They never called them back, and they had called me a 3rd time. I couldn't make it the 3rd time. I was about to go and study. Not 2004. It was 2013, 2014, thereabout. Okay. And he said to me that when he called Grenada, there was a deacon at my church in St. David's who said, "That man only asking to go on the retreat. That man only asking. That man has no good relationship with the bishop, you know. That man this, that man that, that man the other." So he said when he told Clyde that man about to leave the priesthood. That time I was like a few years a priest, you know. Clyde Harvey said, "But since Jerry, a few years you see him leave the priesthood." So I'm not about to live. And if it is possible, if it could happen that he could defrock me, what does that mean? That is really anything to be bothered about?
Okay.
That's not anything to be bothered about.
I mean, no problem. Go ahead, finish.
Who are you? You're a parliamentarian, right?
No, ex-parliamentarian.
Ex-parliamentarian. You were a parliamentarian.
That's right.
So I'm right. You used to be involved with the bank
Yes, Willing
Right,
Alone.
I think I remember
Yeah,
that
that's
as a
correct.
young
Yes,
fellow.
yes.
Right? You're no longer there.
No.
Don't you exist? Don't you continue to work? Don't you continue to make your contribution?
Correct,
You understand what I'm saying? In 2020, in 2020, come on, 1965, there was the Vatican Council that last. There was a council of the entire church in which the church revolutionized and made a lot of changes. There was a guy called John 23, the Pope at the time, who, when the guys was fighting against themselves to decide who was going to be Pope, they put him as an old man, as a stopgap Pope, thinking that he will die just now. Well, he didn't die just now. He called a council of the church, which is something that takes sometimes 100 years, 100 and something years before you call a council. He called a council and revolutionized the church. That's when the language was changed from Latin to the vernacular, and a whole lot of changes, priests saying mass, and the back was facing to the people. It just changes like hell. 100,000 people, 100,000 priests left the priesthood because they couldn't cope with the changes. And many of them lived very miserable lives because they couldn't use a spade, they couldn't use a fork, they couldn't pump.
They had no other skills.
That's the point.
marketable skills.
You understand what I'm saying? And not just marketable skills. If I am
Survival
the prime
skills.
minister,
Survival
I am the
skills.
prime minister, and that's all that is in my head. The day I'm not the prime minister, I'm dead. You understand what I'm saying? So the priesthood is the same
so
thing.
I'm told by my producer that I'm out of time, Chris.
Okay,
Out of time.
yeah.
Can I give you the opportunity to make some closing remarks? Yeah, given what's
All that we have discussed tonight is quite in order, and I understand coming with the issues from a personal perspective, and all the questions are quite in order. But I just want our audience to remember that the issue is really Gaza. People are suffering, people are dying, people are being killed, and it continues. Israel is trying to provoke a wider war. They have just, I think, 24 hours, 48 hours ago, bombed the Iranian consulate in Syria.
In Syria,
and
yes.
they're trying to get the United States, one way of trying to get the United States to bring troops on the ground if Iran was to respond and so on and so forth. It's a very serious matter. I mean, you're dealing with nuclear powers. Israel is a nuclear power.
That's correct.
And you will not stand up and allow yourself to be destroyed if a stronger army coming to attack you. The same story with Ukraine. So these matters are very, very serious matters. And, I would just invite our audience to keep their ears open. I do not listen to the BBC and the CNN and those garbage on them. I was a journalist at Radio Free Grenada. I aspired to be an international correspondent of the BBC, but these are complete trash in my view for many, many, many years now. But listen to credible people on social media and know what is happening, and be in solidarity with suffering people. And that's what I try to do in my life.
Chris, do a summary.
No, thank you, Father. I mean, we appreciate your view. I mean, that is what this program is about.
I want to thank
So
you.
that the public will make the judgments that they need to make.
History.
And of course, we want to remind the audience that a group in support of the Palestinian cause there's a motorcade on Friday at 2 o'clock from the stadium, I'm to understand, and a rally at Cameron Park at about 4 thereafter. So viewers, thank you very much.
I will be speaking at that rally.
That's correct. So we look forward. Very good. So thank you for being with us this evening. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Have a good evening from MTV Community Forum. Thank you. Good evening.